we have another message here. I think have we heard from Cal Woodward 99 before?
I don't think so.
Somewhat familiar, but if we haven't,
okay.
I apologise. But anyway, thanks very much, Cal Woodward 99, for getting in touch. They say Lewis is getting a lot of hate for celebrating the win whilst Max is in hospital. From Max also. Do you believe if it was the other way around, Max wouldn't be celebrating? I think Max would probably be celebrating as normal because assuming the roles are reversed exactly, the reason that they're celebrating as they have been with somebody, in the hospital is because they kind of already knew that Max was okay. Yeah, he wasn't like he got stretchered out or anything and they weren't sure how he was. He got out of the car, he was basically okay. He went to the hospital for some precautionary checks, but otherwise it appeared like he was mostly okay, and they obviously felt that there was a reasonable enough amount of understanding that they could celebrate as normal. I think if it were the other way around, I think Max Verstappen would have celebrated as normal. I think Red Bull would have celebrated as normal. Maybe Mercedes would have complained about it in the same way that Red Bull would have done, because they're going to try and get any amount of leverage they can, because this kind of PR battle and winning the hearts and minds of fans and the like, that's kind of part of it as well. That's kind of part of the politics of the sport. And I honestly think that it would have been exactly the same if it had been the other way around, and people would be saying, "Oh, it's very disrespectful. This is typical Max. He's always been a petulant little child, and he just doesn't understand." But it's the shoes on the other foot, so they're saying it about Hamilton instead. And are they right? No, because they have every right to celebrate what was obviously a difficult win for them, and it's Hamilton's home race. Obviously, he's going to soak in the crowd and he's going to wave his flag, and good for him. He was the fastest man on track today. Like, he was just the fastest guy out there, and that's why he won the race. So, yeah, I think that I don't want to see any drivers getting hate. That is a strong word. And obviously, Lewis Hamilton, we haven't mentioned it yet, but Lewis Hamilton was obviously on the receiving end of some racial abuse as well on social media, and it's just appalling. It's just such a shame that he has to hear that. It's not acceptable. It doesn't mean that we can't criticize Lewis Hamilton. It just means that his skin color has absolutely nothing to do with it. We should be criticizing him as a driver, as a racer, if that's what's necessary. But it's just so sad that he's got to put up with this. And we should condemn it in the strongest possible terms. I was glad that the teams came out and, all united. We Racers One actually came to mean something, because all the teams actually did come out and say, absolutely, this is unacceptable. We don't want any driver to be on the receiving end of this.
And I'll tell you what, and they should. I'll tell you what I love to see is that Mercedes put that statement out, which is what I expect, is what we knew was coming. But Christian Horner and Red Bull were the second team to jump on it straight away and tell everyone that it's not acceptable and it shouldn't happen. And actually, they stand by this. We race with one, and that racial abuse should not be happening across the whole planet. It should not be a thing. So I think this really highlights what a unity of the sport is, despite what Christian Horner said 12 hours ago about the dangerous moves and the unjustified moves and how Mercedes have been out of control. They all come together and supported Lewis in a time where he's been receiving huge amounts of racial abuse, which I think is so good to see the teams come together despite having a really difficult weekend between them. I love to see the teams come together. I hate to see that they have to do it. It's disgusting, and it's just not nice at all. But to see the teams come together, it's such a nice thing to see after, especially like a weekend where two of those teams are at having the biggest fight of their individual careers. I think it's nice to see. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's fine. I mean, yeah, you're right to say that, and I think that it's a shame that we even really have to be discussing the hatred that drivers are receiving as a result of it. I know tensions run high. People are passionate about racing. There's nothing wrong with being emotional about racing, but once you start abusing people, it's gone way, way too far, and it's just not necessary at all. But I think that. But to just bring it back to the question, I think that, if it were the other way around, I think Max would be celebrating. But of course, if Max had been in the hospital and there was some uncertainty about his condition, I think that maybe it would have been a little bit calmer and maybe a little bit more sedated. But they essentially already knew that he was all right. So I think that they kind of felt that they were justified in celebrating the other way that they did. But thanks very much, Cal, for your question, and good to hear from you, and hope to hear from you again.